Today we are talking about depending on God. To depend on someone means you know when you need them that they will be there for you and they'll do exactly what you need. Depending on God can be hard because we can't physically see Him. But the more you talk to Him and learn about Him, it becomes easier to know that He is always dependable. You can depend on God when you're scared. He will calm you down and remind you that He's in control. When things aren't going your way, you can depend on Him to help you get through that situation. You can depend on God when you feel sad and alone. He'll remind you of your blessings and give you friends that you can count on. God wants you to depend on Him when you have no control of a situation. Today's Bible story shows us that God is dependable and always knows what He's doing. This is Gideon, an average guy from an average family in an average town. But Gideon would become a mighty soldier, leading the Israelites to defeat the awful Midianite army. One day, Gideon was trying to gather enough leftover wheat to help feed his family. The Midianites had taken all the good food from the Israelites. God's angel came and told Gideon he would be a great leader and defeat the Midianite army. But Gideon couldn't believe it. He told God that he was not very important. He came from a weak and average family. Surely God had the wrong guy. Gideon even tested God twice, asking Him for signs that he was really the right guy for the job. Both times God showed Gideon He was choosing him to lead the armies and win against the Midianites. Gideon finally accepted what God was saying. He gathered up 30,000 men to fight the Midianites. Now God wanted to make sure the Israelites and Gideon depended on His power to win and not their own. He told Gideon to announce to his soldiers that anyone who was scared to fight could just go home. 20,000 men left the camp that day. Gideon was concerned, but still he had 10,000 men left. Still a lot of soldiers. But God wasn't done. God told Gideon to take the soldiers to the river, watch them as they drink, and anyone who leans over to drink like a dog should be sent home. Anyone who cupped their hands to drink the water would stay and fight. Only 300 soldiers drank from their hands. Gideon thought he would lose against the Midianites. God told him to sneak into the Midianite camp and listen to what they were saying. He did, and he heard the bad soldiers talking about a dream one of them had. They were afraid because the dream meant that Gideon and his army would destroy them. Gideon went back to his soldiers excited. He knew that they could depend on God to win. He gave them all clay jars and a torch lit inside, and a trumpet. That seems like some weird weapons, but God does things differently. Gideon's army split into 3 different groups. When Gideon blew his trumpet, they all blew theirs and yelled, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon!" The soldiers broke their jars. The Midianites saw the lights all around them and heard the noises and thought that thousands of soldiers were attacking. They were so scared and confused they began to kill their own soldiers. Gideon and his armies defeated the Midianites. They had to depend on God to do it. So what about you? Do you depend on God to help you when you can't control the situations you're in? God wants you to depend on Him. Here are things you can do to help you depend on God. Take 1. Trust His plan. Take 2. Do what He says when it's different than what you want. Take 3. Talk to Him about everything. Remember, treat others the way you want to be treated. We'll see you next week.